Hello everyone, let's have more news about the Lakers, but first don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Lakers may finally get Klay Thompson this offseason thanks to Luka Doncic. Fans of the Los Angeles Lakers have heard the rumors for years. There's always been talk about Klay Thompson making the move to LA to suit up for the franchise his father famously played for. But now, because of Luka Doncic, it seems there could actually be a real opportunity for that dream to become reality. When Thompson famously left the Golden State Warriors last offseason, he did so to seize the opportunity of playing with such a talented player as Doncic. Obviously, playing next to a guy who just took his team to the finals in an improbable playoff run was a highly desirable experience. And so for around half a season, Thompson got just that kind of experience he was looking for. But with Doncic missing significant time following Christmas and then being traded to Los Angeles in February, the opportunity he essentially moved to Dallas for disappeared in an instant. The situation that Klay envisioned with the Mavericks no longer exists. Now, on one hand, you can say Dallas is in arguably as good of a position as they were before due to winning the lottery and getting the top pick that will allow them to select Cooper Flagg in the draft. But on the other hand, you can view it from the perspective that the player he looked forward to partnering with most is no longer in his city. So that begs the question, would Thompson desire to finally fulfill the Lakers' rumors and come to Los Angeles to reunite with Luka in Southern California? Well, let's think of it from a logistical point of view. Thompson already didn't play quite as many minutes this past season with the Mavericks as many initially envisioned. On top of that, Dallas now has a crowded center rotation and they could look to make a move this summer. Should Dallas deal away one of their centers, it's entirely possible they look to move Klay as well, given he's one of their more expendable rotation players. If the Mavs go this route, the Lakers could look to get in on the action. Sure, maybe this isn't the same Klay Thompson that scored 60 points while taking 11 dribbles in 3 quarters back in 2016, but he's still a player who can create significant scoring gravity from the perimeter, and he'd be a valuable shooter to put around Luka Doncic. Bringing Klay Thompson to Los Angeles would be an underrated way for the Lakers to level up and become a more dangerous playoff team. Plus, how sweet would it be to see Mychal Thompson sitting courtside for every game at Crypto.com Arena, supporting his son wearing number 11 or 31. This would be a very fun outcome for Lakers fans. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
Lakers beat writing fame says that they need to trade him to upgrade at center. Are you buying that Reeves out, center in?
Yeah, if that gives them a chance to go get somebody that can really swing the Lakers back into a competitive place, by all means, they're going to take their chances, right? And it's going to cost something to do it. And Austin Reeves has a lot of value. Now that, you know, he's played at a high level. Now a lot of teams are going to want to acquire you. So if they're going to have any opportunity to compete, you know, the small ball worked, but it didn't work in the postseason. And we saw that. They need to go get somebody. You know, what was my man named? Mark Williams.
Yep.
That trade didn't go through. Tried the Dalton Connect route. Now you got to go somewhere else. You got to go somewhere else and find some value. So I don't know who's out there on the market, but they definitely do need to upgrade in that level, in that area. And if it's going to be anybody, it's probably going to be Austin Reeves if they're going to go get anybody of quality that can patch that up for them.
Which is unfortunate
because again, now you have Luka. You don't really need what Austin Reeves brings to the table. You have the alpha in that category. You don't necessarily need the second best option there. You're going to go and upgrade.
And he's the guy that teams would want, right? Like, you know what I mean? Sure. If I'm Sacramento and I'm shopping a Sabonis, I want Austin Reeves. Like, if I'm a Dallas with Gafford or Nick Claxton in Brooklyn, those are kind of the names you keep hearing, Vucevic, someone like that. Those teams are going to want Austin Reeves. They're not going to want Dalton Connect. They're not going to want those other guys. They want him. And he did prove that he can play with Luka, so I don't think it's the worst thing, him coming back, because his numbers actually went up after the Luka trade, which was crazy to me. But yeah,
we know. But do you feel like he's kind of caught up with what I just said? Like, well, we got Luka now.
100%. Now it's like Luka's got the keys. Why do we need 2 of them? Like, you know what I mean?
2 of them. That was.
I'm just saying, like, why do we need 2 like primary ball handlers?
2 what? You say it in a way that sounds so wrong. Man, it's a very fickle game, this basketball. So reports are saying that the Sixers could target KD or Lauri Markkanen, or the trade package that would include Paul George and a 3rd-round pick. All right, 3rd pick, smart move. Paul George, is that enough? What are we thinking, Chandler?
I do. I like it, and I love Paul George. I think his numbers obviously took a hit last year, but I think if he's fully healthy, he can still be productive. You look at that roster with Tyrese Maxey, if Joel Embiid, like Daryl Morey said,
if
he comes back, he's great. Jared McCain's going to come back, who was a runaway rookie of the year. Like, they have something to look forward to. That third pick, whether it's Ace Bailey or Harper, whoever they're going to take, is going to be high value in such a top-loaded draft. So I like that. I think they need to switch up something, but I also think they're a team like Cleveland, or if they just stay put and they're healthy and they add an Ace Bailey, this team just automatically gets better by simply adding him and being healthy.
It's a big if.
Yeah, I don't think you need to shake anything up over there. I think they need to see this thing through. I think they've shaken it up enough. You know what I mean? Like, you have Paul George come in. Like, let's see this through. I mean, they didn't have... How many games did they have where they were healthy? So I definitely want to...
handful.
Yeah.
They also got Quentin Grimes for like nothing, like who was a balling for them. Like, they have pieces.
They need to see this through. I don't think they need to be...
You guys are very patient. You're more patient than fans are. Fans are like, no,
well,
do
the West
something
is
else.
stacked too. The East, they have enough. Aren't they thinking right now we have enough to go in and compete?
And we've gotten into this place, if the season doesn't go our way, let's trade somebody. Like,
True.
That's not necessarily what... Sometimes you got to step back, see what...
culture.
Yeah, see what you did wrong. See, in some areas, can you clean it up? Can you go get a piece here or there? But we've gotten into this instant gratification world where... Listen, it's not a lot of Paul Georges just laying around. Look at the names that are being brought up in these conversations. So if you can't land a Laurie or a KD, you're not just going to let them go for lack of anything else because you were disappointed with how a season go. At some point, you got to start filling these things out.
The difference with Philly and Cleveland are Philly is older and Philly has big-time injuries. You know what I mean? Like, if Cleveland was banged up this year, but we're talking about Joel Embiid. We don't know if he's going to ever be that MVP Joel Embiid again. Paul
Do you
George,
think he is?
But if he is...
In your heart of hearts.
If he is, this team's a monster, and I literally could have them possibly coming out of the East. They could be that good if they are fully loaded and healthy. It's just a big if.
I think
Cleveland is in a better situation because, first of all, they're younger and they haven't had those type of injuries before.
I want to see it. I want to see Joel Embiid have another remarkable season. I want to see PG have another remarkable season. I want them to do it together because, again, we keep talking about it. It's a changing of the guard. A lot of these guys are creating separation in how we speak about some of these players, you know.
Which is why if I'm a team, I'm watching all these young guys come up and I'm like, am I going to really put all my eggs in a basket of a guy who might be healthy?
But again, it's not a lot of those type of guys laying around. So if healthy, they both give you a really, really good opportunity to win a bunch of basketball games.
I think I'm cynical, Lou.
Huge if. We throw a little tequila in there or something.
There it is.
Yeah.
But again, those are some name brand guys, and if they can get healthy, you got to give yourself another opportunity to put them back on the floor and see what they do.
I think
Lou's going to be a GM one day. Just sign me.
Do you want to be a GM?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look at that.
I've learned to stop saying no in public to certain things.
Well, we just manifested that. Oh, I can't wait for you to do that, buddy. It's going to be really good for you. According to Jake Fisher, the Kings, this could be an interesting team to watch, are expected to explore potential trade options for DeMar DeRozan. George, you buying that?
Yeah, I'm buying that.
You are?
Yeah, I mean, I think they tried to, make stuff happen at the trade deadline, and it didn't work. And when things don't work, like, you didn't reach the playoffs. So I think they're definitely going to be dialed in to moving, and it's unfortunate. I thought DeMar DeRozan was a solid piece for them, but they even brought Zach LaVine in to help, and that didn't work. So unfortunately, that is kind of the nature of the business, but I don't know if it's going to be him. It could be other pieces, but I see them making moves.
Yeah, I think everyone's on the table on this team.
Everybody.
I think everyone, and again, I don't think they need to panic. They have good talent. They have pieces. Malik Monk going out during that play-in, I think that really hurt because of what he provides for this team.
Cavs GM Kobe Altman was defiant. No major trades are coming. Don't even ask. George,
George. He traded me.
George, are you buying that? No major trades?
I believe that. I think they kind of, after the trade deadline, they had their team set in stone, and they're going to dig their heels in and buy in with this team. And to be honest, in the East, with the Tatum injury, which is unfortunate, why wouldn't you keep the same team? I mean, there's really not too much other competition other than the teams that are playing right now. So I'm buying.
Can I tell you why? Because they didn't even get to that Boston team to play. They lost to a lesser team. So why wouldn't you make a change?
Well, there's rules that, kind of restrict them. So I wouldn't shake up too much of what they call their core four and what they have. They're kind of limited on what they can do. And I'm not sure if I were them, I'd make any moves. And I know Kobe Altman, and I'm pretty sure I'm buying what he's saying.
Yeah, I'm with him, and I think me and Lou even talked about this in another segment. Like, they're right there. They had a great regular season. They didn't pan out the way that we thought they would in the playoffs. They also got hurt with injuries. DeAndre Hunter got hurt, which was a great trade for them to acquire him.
He is great. He's great.
Yo!
It's an all-timer.
Evan Mobley got hurt. The toe with Garland. So they were a little banged up. And again, with Tatum out last year, there's some teams on the rise. The Magic are going to be better. The Sixers are going to get better if they're healthy. So, but they're right there. They're in the hunt. If they just stay put going into next season, they are contenders that come out of the East. So why would you switch that up?
Trade target on the center market, Onyeka Okongwu, Atlanta Hawks big man. Can the Lakers actually land him, and what would they be getting if they do? I'm Trevor Lane. This is the LakersNation.com YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right here. Going to be a busy summer for your Lakers. Joining me is Matt the Optimist Peralta. Matt, I kind of like the idea of Onyeka Okongwu. Bouncy big man, maybe a bit undersized, but right age range to fit with Luka long term. I don't mind him as a target at all.
No, I think if you're the Lakers and you know you're in desperate need for a center, if I'm canvassing the league, the things you just mentioned, bouncy athletic center, the right age to grow and develop into something more alongside Luka Doncic, Onyeka Okongwu makes a ton of sense for the Lakers as a trade target.
Now, here's where this is all coming from. This is Dave McMenamin of ESPN saying, before the Mark Williams trade, I can't tell you all the names on that list, but I actually assume he was one of the names on the list that Rob Pelinka presented to Luka, because I do know the Lakers made a call to the Hawks around the trade deadline about Okongwu. So just to pause for a second, the Lakers presented a list of potential center targets, including Mark Williams and apparently Onyeka Okongwu, for them to pursue at the trade deadline to Luka, and said, hey, which guys do you like? Who do you like? And I mean, I guess first and foremost, Matt, that's that right there. The fact that the Lakers, Luka had been in town for like a couple of days, maybe, and the Lakers immediately went to Luka and said, hey, pick from this list. What bigs do you want? Anthony Davis was asking for a big for years. It tells you very clearly this team is going to be built around Luka Doncic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the Lakers historically have shown that they want to partner with their stars on roster construction and things like that nature. And I think this was a good early sign for the partnership between Luka and the Lakers. And so not a lot to take from that other than it looks like Rob and the front office understand that if they're going to make this thing right with the Lakers, they've got to work with Luka on the players he wants. And so that's encouraging to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's check this out. We've got, he said, I think lob threat, athleticism, absolutely. In terms of being a perfect fit, maybe not. They might not get a perfect fit, though. Clint Capella of 17-18 might have been a perfect fit, but we're in 25-26 now. So that's the kind of spot they're going to be in. I'm of the opinion to not go all in on a Nick Claxton or someone who makes 20 to 30 million. They're going to have a taxpayer mid-level exception available to them. So I try to go get a guy at that level. And if he doesn't prove to be the best fit, make sure you're holding on to one of your picks, and then you can try to pursue something else come February. So we could talk about that aspect of it in just a moment here. So what this means, though, is that Onyeka Okongwu was someone that at one point that Luka said, yes, I want this guy. The Lakers made the call. Obviously, they did not get the deal done, but that doesn't mean they won't be trying. And I would expect they've probably already tried having that conversation with the Atlanta Hawks. No deals this time of year. Well, frankly, deals don't get done this time of year. They tend to get done in June and in July. But this is another name that we should pay attention to for the Lakers to potentially target. Now, he is undersized at 6'8", 6'9", doesn't have a very diverse offensive game right now, but can defend multiple positions. And I think when we look at his contract for Okongwu, it's pretty nice. I mean, this is pretty team friendly. That said, Matt, I mean, you look at this deal, $15 million next season, $16.1 million after that, then $16.8 million. But the Hawks, the reason why Clint Capella has been linked to the Lakers so much is because the Hawks moved him to the bench in favor of Onyeka Okongwu. I would have to imagine that Atlanta is not going to give up Okongwu easily. So I wouldn't put this in the category of likely. I would think the Lakers have a much better chance of getting Clint Capella than getting Onyeka Okongwu.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I'm the Hawks, right, and I'm thinking about my own team and you know what I want to move forward with around Trae Young, Onyeka Okongwu makes a ton of sense for the Hawks. And so no player is obviously ungettable or untradeable, but I think in this case, the Lakers are going to have to massively overpay if they want to pry him away from Atlanta. I'm thinking, you know, if I'm Atlanta, why am I not asking about Austin Reeves? Because I know how desperate you guys are for a center. And at that point, I think the front office would immediately shut that call down. So I like the fit with Okongwu a ton. I think he makes a lot of sense. I think he's the exact kind of player the Lakers should be looking at via the trade market. But I just think given the pieces and what it might cost to get him, I just don't see a trade materializing between the two teams.
Yeah, Austin Reeves would be an automatic, I think, no-go for the Lakers for Okongwu. What now from the Lakers side, if you could take Maxi Kleba and Dalton Connect
Sure.
and your first, would you do that?
I don't think so personally. I think the Hawks would even. I'm not even sure if the Hawks would say yes to that necessarily. I think they'd
Yeah.
be crazy not. I think they'd be. Yeah, I feel like the Hawks might even be the ones to say no to that deal too. So, like I said, I think something between the two teams is just really hard. Um,
It's almost like you
we've
need that middle ground asset to make it work because
yeah.
you're right. I don't know that the Hawks would do that deal, but it would be a tough bargain to try to get done for the Lakers, I think for sure. Would you go as far as like the full Mark Williams package, which was connect the first and a pick swap for a Okongwu? So if it was an expiring contract, connect the first and a pick swap, do you think that might get it done?
I think it could get it done. I just don't think that's the trade you want to make right now, right? Given the Lakers' assets and what they can do to add to this roster, I feel like that's kind of a trade I would look at closer to the trade deadline. So, like, if you go back to the Dave McMenamin quote, something about someone like Clint Capella to hold them over to begin the season, and then maybe make a more aggressive trade at the deadline is what I think would be a more ideal route for the Lakers.
So do you agree with Dave in general that, hey, I don't go after Nick Claxton, don't go after a center that makes 20 or 30 million, only go after your guys with your taxpayer mid-level right now, unless somehow, of course, you get like an Okongwu or somebody, maybe it's Gafford, I don't know, winds up falling in your lap. Otherwise, he's talking about getting a stopgap center. He's talking about getting a bridge center for the time being, and then see what works with that or what doesn't work, and then you still have your first round pick to potentially use at the trade deadline. Do you agree with that philosophy overall that the Lakers might be better off getting, some of the guys we've talked about, Clint Capella, Brooke Lopez, Steven Adams? Those guys are not long-term. Those guys are all north of 30. Brooke Lopez is 37. Like that would be a 1-year fill-in, most likely with players like that. Do you agree with that sentiment? Get one of those guys, have someone who can play the center position, and then wait to make the move to land the center that you need?
Yeah, I think so in general. We talked about this recently on one of the Lakers Nation live streams, just about how I think the move for the summer might be to add multiple bigs somehow. Maybe not the world beater long term solution that the Lakers want in a trade, but I think just guys that can come in and play right away, at least to begin the season. And then I think you make the more aggressive deal, like I said, at the trade deadline when prices typically start to fall a little bit. And it's obviously a little risky because, some guys might play their way into costing more in a deal, and sometimes guys' values might be able to fall to a point where you can make a palatable deal. It's the gamble, but I think that's one I'm willing to take if I'm able to land a couple options this summer.
Now, just to play devil's advocate, because I do, when you're talking about value, I agree with you. I think it may take, especially if the Lakers can come into the season and play well, because I know this offseason, opposing GMs are going to say, you need a center. You're desperate for a center. We want top dollar, right? That's going to be the sentiment from opposing GMs trying to hold leverage over the Lakers in any trade negotiations. If the Lakers come into the season and they get a stopgap, a Clint Capella or whoever, and they play well, then Rob Pelinka can play that card around the trade deadline of, hey, we'd like to get an upgrade, but we don't have to because we've got somebody that's doing an okay job for us right now, and we're doing just fine. The counter to that, though, again, just to play devil's advocate, would be, number one, Luka has to sign that extension in August. August 2nd, he can sign that extension. You want to ideally go to him and say, look, Luka, we got this 24-year-old bouncy, versatile big man that's going to be your guy for the next 5 years or something like that. You want to be able to present that to him and say, hey, sign right here. We're locked and loaded and ready to roll for the foreseeable future. Plus, we also have to remember that it takes time to develop chemistry. We saw this Lakers team struggle in the 30-ish games or whatever that they had after Luka arrived to develop chemistry on the fly. So if you're going to make that big trade at the trade deadline, it is an uphill battle to throw a team together at the trade deadline and try to be ready chemistry-wise at a playoff level just a short time later. So those would be two, I think, counter arguments that would push you more towards doing a deal now in the summer rather than what Dave is saying, wait until the middle of the season and just get a stopgap guy for the time being.
No, so that second point about the chemistry and not having enough time to gel, that's absolutely in consideration for me when we're talking about the timing of a trade and a deal. But I think to the first point, I think the Lakers, at least in my sense, they feel like they're operating under the guise or like the assumption that Luka will stay long term. So maybe
Mhm.
that eases the pressure to find that long term solution right away. Obviously, though, like if a trade comes up that the Lakers can't pass on, then of course you pull it when you
Sure.
do. But I think like if we're just projecting out a little bit, like what we expect to actually happen, I do think it's going to play out the way you said, where it's July, everyone knows the Lakers need a center. If they're going to want a good one, they're going to have to pay top dollar or like the top end of the market. But I think if we get to the trade deadline and are able to survive with a stopgap option or two, then I think that sets up the Lakers way better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the more likely outcome is the stopgap. It's a Capella, it's a Brook Lopez. And I do think if the Lakers are looking for a stopgap, they are the landing spot. They are
Yep.
the premier landing spot in the NBA for any of these veteran bigs because there's an immediate starting job right there for you. And not many teams can offer that. Although the Phoenix Suns are now entering into that arena. Apparently, they want to move Nick Richards to the bench. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But the Lakers, I think, will be the premier landing spot for any of those veteran bigs. And then maybe you do get a better deal sometime around the trade deadline if you are patient and you wait. Not what Lakers fans want to hear, though. We want to hear you're going to get the deal done right now. And I will say, on a positive on that note, it's that the Lakers showed if they think they're getting the guy they want to put next to
Hmm.
Luka for the next 5 years, they showed they will pull the trigger. They did it in the Mark Williams trade already. Obviously, that fell apart for the reasons that it fell apart, but they showed that if they think they're getting the guy, they will pull the trigger. We're just talking about in the event that the right deal is not there, they'll look for a stopgap.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think the Lakers understand what they need to get this
Mhm.
roster over the top. The playoffs have been, just this massive illustration of where the game's going and having size, physicality, length, defense at the rim and the paint, mobile big who can do a lot of different things. Like the Lakers are going to have to pay top dollar for that at some point. And so this summer's going to be interesting, man. Like I do think that they're going to land at least one or two guys. And then I think again, the Mark Williams trade just tells me that there's going to be no stone left unturned, and I think that the Lakers will get someone
Yeah,
eventually.
yeah, I agree as well. Whether or not that will be the long-term piece, we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be one of the storylines to follow. But add Onyeka Okongwu to the list of players. Mark Williams was on the list. Is he still? I don't know. That's another topic for another day. But we've got Onyeka Okongwu on the list of players the Lakers are going to look at. Of course, they're going to be making calls on all.
Lakers linked with Hawks big man Onyeka Okongwu, lob threat, athleticism. The Los Angeles Lakers saw their season come to an end after a swift first-round exit, courtesy of the Minnesota Timberwolves. But the loss may have been the key to triggering new growth as it helped the team outline the necessary moves they needed to make in the offseason. The team's offseason plan was made abundantly clear during the team's last press conference of the season. Lakers GM Rob Pelinka highlighted their need for a big man, specifically an athletic big man who could be a defensive threat or a floor spacing big. While the player profile covers a vast spectrum, it is quite evident that the Lakers are looking for a player who can run the floor with their star, Luka Doncic. With this in mind, ESPN's Dave McMenamin appeared on Straight Fire with Jason McIntyre to reveal the kind of players who the purple and gold had shown an interest in. While referring to the team's links to Charlotte Hornets big man Mark Williams, McMenamin said, "I do know the Lakers made a call to the Hawks around the trade deadline about Okongwu. I think lob threat, athleticism, absolutely. In terms of being a perfect fit, maybe not. They might not get a perfect fit though. Atlanta Hawks center Onyeka Okongwu would make for an interesting pickup if the Lakers choose to pursue it. The Hawks center is only 24 years old and played in a total of 74 games last season. This kind of durability is appreciated for a Lakers team that had grown accustomed to having injury-prone big men grace the roster. No Kongwu notched a solid average of 13.4 points, 8.9 rebounds on 56.7% shooting from the field. Although he doesn't boast as much defensive upside as Williams, he is an incredibly athletic center with a lot of potential to pair well with a playmaker in the pick and roll. The USC product has been on the receiving end of some great lobs by Hawks guard Trae Young. Given how effective Young is at facilitating easy baskets for rim running bigs, it is quite evident that Doncic may be able to bring the most out of him as well. Being able to pair well with the Slovenian is a big parameter for the Lakers. And you, fan, what do you think about Onyeka Okongwu's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.